Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm David Carlisle, here with Harper Bennett. And Harper, as an educator and a dad, I need to start with a timeline that drives me absolutely wild. 18 months. That is the average waiting list time in some school districts just to get a child a formal evaluation for neurodiver. You know what? I'm already tongue-tied on the word neurodiversity. My brain does this every single time. But you get what I mean. 18 months of waiting just to get a piece of paper so a kid can get basic classroom help.
18 months is a lifetime when you're 7 years old. That's almost 2 entire school years of falling behind, feeling like you're failing, when the reality is, the system is what's failing you. It's this administrative bottleneck where we treat the formal diagnosis like a golden ticket to Willy Wonka's factory, and without it, you can't even get through the front gate.
Exactly. And that's why this massive news out of the UK is such a game changer. This month, the UK's Department for Education is rolling out a brand new initiative called the Experts at Hand service. The whole premise is to bypass that entire diagnostic bottleneck by deploying specialist SEND support, that's special educational needs and disabilities, directly to schools without requiring a formal clinical diagnosis first.
Wait, specialist support in the classroom before the paperwork is finalized? As an occupational therapist, this makes my heart sing. For years, I've had to tell desperate parents, I know your child is struggling to sit up or focus today, but my hands are tied until the pediatrician signs the diagnostic code. To cut that red tape and just look at the kid's actual function in real time, that's huge.
It is. Because in a classroom of 30 kids, I don't need a medical chart to tell me that Joey is sensory overloaded by the fluorescent lights, or that Maya needs a visual schedule to transition between reading and math. I just need an expert, like a speech therapist or an educational psychologist, to come in, observe, and say, hey David, try using a weighted lap pad or this specific visual cue. It's about shifting the focus from what is the label to what is the barrier.
What is the barrier? I am writing that down on my clipboard, metaphorically speaking. It really shifts us from the medical model, which says, you are broken, let's label you, to the social and functional model of disability, which says, the environment is currently inaccessible, let's adapt it. It's like my adaptive rock climbing. I don't need a doctor to write a note saying my legs don't work before the gym lets me use a pulley system. I just need the harness and the pulley so I can climb.
I love that analogy. It's like baking sourdough, which you know I'm obsessed with. You don't stare at a flat loaf and wait for a laboratory analysis of the wild yeast before you decide to add more heat or adjust the hydration. You look at what's happening in the bowl right in front of you and adjust on the fly. But I do wonder, Harper, from a clinical perspective, is there a risk of losing something if we bypass the formal diagnosis? Does the label itself still hold some value?
That's a really fair question. Yes, labels can provide community, self-understanding, and legal protections under things like the Americans with Disabilities Act. But a diagnosis shouldn't be the gatekeeper to basic, humane classroom accommodations. The experts at hand model doesn't mean we stop diagnosing. It just means we stop letting kids drown while they're waiting in the queue.
That queue is hard enough, but once these kids are trying to navigate the wider world, the barriers change. And that brings us to a really heavy but incredibly important piece of news regarding the digital spaces where so many of our kids spend their time.
Oh, the internet. It's a massive double-edged sword for neurodivergent kids. On one hand, it's where they find their tribes, their niche special interests, and people who actually get them. But the new data coming out is really alarming.
It really is. The June 2026 Every Child Safe Online report, which was just published by Internet Matters, reveals that children with additional needs face significantly higher levels of online harm and exploitation compared to their neurotypical peers. We are talking about cyberbullying, grooming, and being targeted by scammers at rates that are deeply concerning.
significantly higher levels of harm. That is a terrifying phrase for any parent or therapist to read. And the gut reaction for a lot of parents is going to be, that's it, we are locking down the router, no more tablets, no more internet. But as we know, for an autistic kid who might struggle with face-to-face social cues, that iPad might be their only portal to finding a friend who shares their passion for, say, transit maps of Tokyo.
Absolutely. If you take away the digital world, you might be keeping them physically safe, but you're also plunging them into social isolation. As a teacher and a dad, I've seen how restriction alone backfires. They just find ways around it, or they feel punished for who they are. Instead of just blocking content, we have to talk about co-regulation.
Co-regulation! Yes! It's not about handing them a device with a lock on it. It's about sitting down with them. In OT, we talk about scaffolding skills. You don't just throw a kid into the deep end of a pool, nor do you ban them from ever touching water. You get in the pool with them. You teach them how to recognize when a message feels off, how to spot a bot, and how to handle that gut feeling when someone online asks for personal details.
Exactly. We have to teach them the digital street smarts by talking through real-world scenarios. My kids and I will literally look at a message together and play scam or real. We make it a game, so they build the neural pathways to question what they see online, rather than just relying on an algorithm to filter it for them.
Speaking of algorithms, that connects perfectly to what's happening on the global stage right now. The UN's COSP19 Summit, that's the Conference of State Parties to the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, just wrapped up in New York. And the massive hot-button topic this year was artificial intelligence and accessibility.
COSP19. I was reading about this, and the focus on AI is fascinating. On one hand, you have these incredible showcases of generative AI translating sign language in real time or creating highly personalized learning tools for non-verbal students. It feels like we're on the cusp of an adaptive tech revolution.
It does feel like sci-fi is becoming reality. I've got one of my mini carabiners on my keychain right now from a climb where we used an AI-driven route mapping assistant for visually impaired climbers. But, and this is a massive but, there was a real tension at the summit about algorithmic bias. If the data used to train these AI systems doesn't include disabled or neurodivergent voices, the AI is going to build even higher walls of exclusion.
That is a critical point. If an AI recruiting tool is trained on resume data from successful employees, and those employees were all neurotypical, the algorithm will quietly weed out anyone who communicates differently. It codifies the bias under the guise of objective technology.
Precisely. It's the old disability rights mantra, nothing about us without us. If you are building AI tools for accessibility, disabled people have to be in the room, coding, testing, and leading the design teams. Otherwise, it's just a high-tech version of the same old paternalism.
Nothing about us without us. That is the lingering question we have to carry forward from COSP19. Whether it's the UK's Experts at Hand service, digital safety, or global AI policy, the path forward isn't about designing systems for neurodivergent and disabled people. It's about designing with them from the very first step. Harper, always a pleasure chatting with you.
Right back at you, David. And hey, you only stumbled on neurodiversity once today. That's progress.
Hey, I'll take the win. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time.